The terrifying reality of facing Ilia Topuria is no longer a question. Charles Oliveira just lived it. Ilia's lightweight debut ended in a brutal knockout, and now the division has a new nightmare to deal with. In this video, I'll break it all down. We'll look at Ilia's striking precision and mental toughness, how he dismantled Charles in a way nobody else ever has, and why his undefeated run feels like the rise of a true UFC superstar. We'll also dig into what this means for the landscape of lightweight, who's left, that can realistically stop him, and how a future clash with Islam could go down if he comes back to reclaim the throne. One thing's clear: the terrifying reality of facing Ilia Topuria is no longer hype. It's here, it's real, and every lightweight contender has to deal with it. What exactly makes Ilia Topuria so terrifying now that he's already conquered lightweight? Because what he did to Charles Oliveira at UFC 317 wasn't just another win, it was a statement. For years, Charles has been the chaos king of lightweight, the man who could drag anyone into deep water and drown them with submissions or wild striking. Fighters would knock him down, and he'd find a way to recover. He always had that survival instinct. But when Ilia put his hands on him, there was no survival. One clean right hand, followed by a sharp left hook, and Charles was out cold before he even hit the mat. That's the terrifying reality. Against Ilia, you don't get second chances. Ilia's precision is what separates him. He doesn't just throw bombs hoping for a knockout. He throws calculated surgical shots with zero wasted motion. When you watch him fight, it's like watching a sniper work. He stays composed, waits for the opening, and the moment you give him a crack in your defense, he ends it. That's what he did to Charles, and that's why so many fighters call him one of the cleanest boxers in MMA today. But striking alone doesn't make him terrifying. It's his confidence. Ilia fights with the belief that he cannot be beaten. He doesn't just walk into the cage looking to win. He walks in expecting to dominate. That self-belief is dangerous because it fuels everything he does. Against Charles, even when the former champ tried to push forward, Ilia didn't flinch. He didn't back up. He stayed calm, planted his feet, and fired the kind of combination that only comes from someone who truly believes the fight is already his. Now here's where people forget. Ilia isn't just a striker. His background in Greco-Roman wrestling and jiu-jitsu is legit. He's already submitted guys like Bryce Mitchell, and he's capable of grappling at a high level. The difference is he doesn't rely on it because he hasn't needed to. That doesn't mean it's a hole in his game. It means his striking is so sharp, his opponents never make it to plan B. And that's what's so scary. He's still only 28. He hasn't even hit his physical or technical prime yet. If he's this good now, knocking out legends like Max Holloway, Volkanovski, and Oliveira in record time, what happens in 3 years when his grappling is sharper, his fight IQ is higher, and his experience against top contenders grows? The truth is, the lightweight division just got flipped upside down. Fighters who used to worry about Charles's submissions or Islam's wrestling now have to deal with Ilia's terrifying combination of precision, power, and composure. There's no margin for error. Against him, one mistake is all it takes. That's why Ilia Topuria is terrifying. Not because he wins, but because when he wins, he erases you. And that's where things get really interesting. Because Ilia's knockout of Charles Oliveira doesn't just add another highlight to his reel, it changes the entire landscape of the lightweight division. For years, lightweight has been one of the UFC's most chaotic divisions. Khabib retired, Charles reigned in wild fashion, Islam took over with dominance, and every fight seemed to shuffle the rankings all over again. But now, with Islam chasing history at welterweight, Ilia Topuria steps in and plants his flag as the new face of 155. So what does that mean for the rest of the contenders? It means everyone has a brand new problem to solve. Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Arman Tsarukyan, Mateusz Gamrot, they've all trained to deal with wrestlers like Khabib and Islam, or submission wizards like Charles. But Ilia brings a totally different threat. He's not looking to out-grapple you. He's not waiting to wrap you up in a scramble. He's walking forward, staying calm, and throwing precise bombs that can shut the lights off in an instant. And here's the scary part. There aren't many guys at lightweight who fight well under that kind of pressure. Charles folded to it. Max and Volk, both legends with granite chins, got folded too. And if those names couldn't survive, what chance does anyone else have? This is why Rogan and so many analysts keep saying the division might belong to Ilia now. He doesn't just beat opponents, he makes them look like they never belonged in the cage with him. That's a different kind of dominance, not the grinding control of Islam, but the ruthless efficiency of a finisher who only needs a moment. And looking forward, it sets up chaos. Does Dustin Poirier want that smoke? Does Gaethje, who thrives in wild brawls, really want to trade with someone who hits cleaner and harder? Or do we see a new generation, guys like Tsarukyan or Gamrot, step up to test if Ilia's ground game can hold against elite wrestling? One thing's clear, Ilia's win over Charles didn't just give him a belt, it gave the lightweight division a brand new king to fear. And it opens the door to the biggest question fans can't stop asking. What's next for Ilia Topuria? Does he stay and defend against killers at 155? Or does he chase something even bigger, a super fight with Islam Makhachev? Right now, the division is wide open. Islam Makhachev has shifted his focus to welterweight, chasing Jack Della Maddalena, which leaves Ilia as the man holding all the cards at 155. That means the matchmakers have choices, and every option is explosive. The most obvious path is for Ilia to defend against the killers waiting in line. Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Arman Tsarukyan, Mateusz Gamrot, all bring different threats, and all would test Ilia in unique ways. A fight with Poirier or Gaethje would be fireworks, but dangerous ones, because both have knockout power and thrive in chaos. Tsarukyan would be a very different challenge, with his grinding wrestling and insane pace. That matchup could finally force Ilia to show just how deep his grappling really goes. But then there's the bigger picture, Islam. Fans are already dreaming of a super fight. Islam Makhachev, the former lightweight king and current welterweight contender, coming back down to face Ilia Topuria in the clash everyone's been waiting for. Islam brings control, suffocation, and experience. Ilia brings speed, precision, and one-punch power. That's not just a fight. That's a legacy-defining war. And let's not forget, Ilia's undefeated. Every time he's stepped into the cage, he's walked out without a blemish. That aura of invincibility matters. Fighters go in knowing one mistake could end it all. That mental edge, combined with his composure and confidence, makes him one of the most terrifying champions we've seen in years. So what comes next? Maybe it's Poirier, maybe it's Tsarukyan, maybe it's Islam. Whoever it is, one thing's certain, they're not just fighting for a belt. They're stepping into the cage with a man who's dismantled legends, knocked out champions, and made it look inevitable. That's the terrifying reality of facing Ilia Topuria. You're not just fighting another contender, you're fighting the future. And that's the terrifying reality of Ilia Topuria. In just a handful of fights, he's gone from rising prospect to one of the most feared champions in the UFC. He didn't just move divisions. He didn't just step into lightweight. He took out Charles Oliveira, the man with the most submissions in UFC history, and made it look easy. He proved that his striking isn't just good, it's lethal, precise, patient, and devastating. One mistake, one opening, and it's over. That's what separates Ilia from everyone else. Charles had been in chaos before. He's been rocked, dropped, and found ways to come back. Against Ilia, there was no comeback. There was no recovery, just silence. That's what happens when precision meets confidence. Now, the division looks different. The names are the same: Poirier, Gaethje, Tsarukyan, Gamrot, but the fear is new. They're not just preparing for another fight. They're preparing for a man who's dismantled legends and walked away without a scratch. And looming above it all is the one matchup fans can't stop talking about. Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. That's the collision course. Control versus chaos. Suffocation versus explosion. If it happens, it won't just be a fight. It'll be a moment in UFC history. But for now, Ilia stands alone as lightweight's new nightmare. Undefeated, unstoppable, and unshaken. And the scariest part? He's only getting better. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Who should Ilia face next? Poirier, Tsarukyan, or Islam himself? Let's hear your take, because one thing's for sure, every fighter at 155 is now living with the same reality, the terrifying reality of facing Ilia Topuria.